Chapter 3 New Boots. As promised, the guitar, the radio, and a few other items were delivered. Of course, Vi played with the horribly out-of-tune guitar for a while. She had the whole cell block groaning and holding their ears in pain. Once Caitlyn took the instrument from her cellmate, Vi returned to making her creation. The taller woman peeks over the edge of her textbook every so often. "I think it's done. All I have to do is test it," Vi proudly proclaims with her hands firmly planted on her hips. Caitlyn is genuinely curious how her cellmate is able to throw objects together and create something from everyday objects. She wonders if it's a byproduct from living in Zon or being in prison for so long.
How do you suppose we do that?
Caitlyn slides out of her bunk to see a metal pipe outfitted with wires. Vi shrugs. It looks like she only came up with 10% of a plan again. Try it on me. My people have a naturally high pain tolerance. The taller woman rolls her eyes, doubting the science behind her claim, but she doesn't have a way of fact-checking her. She doesn't want to hurt Vi, but once the redhead has her mind set on something, she won't let it go until she has her way.
You're as stubborn as a bull. You know that's going to get you killed one day.
Caitlyn takes a dangerous contraption from her friend. Nah, I'll be fine. Go ahead. Without warning, Caitlyn presses a homemade taser to Vi's ribs, and as predicted, she falls to the floor. What the taller woman didn't expect was the smell of burning flesh in the air. Vi weakly holds her side and grumbles. "I told you, I have a high pain tolerance. Ugh." Caitlyn looks at the dangerous contraption, and it's not sparking anymore. In fact, it looks like the zap to Vi caused a short in the device.
Well, so much for that idea.
She tosses the taser to the side.
Got a less cartoon villain idea?
Vi crawls to her knees and points at the empty wall that she likes to punch when she's in a bad mood. "We dig our way out with these." She holds her fists up. Caitlyn rolls her eyes at her idiot and pats her on the head before returning to her bunk.
Nice try, Hawk. I don't think that's possible.
The desperate Kierman pulls out a notebook and starts writing to the last person she can think of to help her escape her sentence. She is holding out hope the dean of the college, someone who she's only met a handful of times, will send resources her way. Caitlyn glances over the edge of the bunk to see Vi punching at the wall with wobbly arms. She hopes she can take Vi home with her when she leaves too. The woman deserves nothing but the best for living through this nightmare. Over the course of a week, the two notice Savika disappearing from their sight, only to reappear even closer, kind of like a shitty jump scare from an indie movie. Vi kept her word to the gruff woman to do anything she wanted. Much to Caitlyn's relief, she wants the redhead to tattoo her forearm. In the time the young Kierman had known her friend, she didn't know Vi had a knack for tattooing. She did notice Vi would spend hours doodling and drawing images from magazines she borrowed from the library, but chalked it up to boredom. Caitlyn sits on the small table in the gruff woman's cell and watches Vi diligently poke black lines using a homemade tattoo machine. If the taller woman didn't see the original image before Vi started, she wouldn't be able to tell she was tattooing a knife with blood dripping down the blade, and the handle is heavily worn with use. Right now, the other woman's arm looks like a black, inky mess, like a squid attacked her. All done. Let me know if I need to touch it up in a week. Vi stands up and stretches her aching back from being hunched over for so many hours. "Come on, Cupcake. I need a massage." Vi wiggles her eyebrows. Caitlyn lightly shoves her shoulder and follows the redhead back to her cell.
In your dreams.
Vi washes her hands in the sink again and glances over at her cellmate through the tiny mirror. "Oh, you do so much more than massaging in my dreams, Cupcake." Slender fingers gripping my... Ow! Caitlyn threw her pillow at Vi's head while blushing darker than a sunset.
Don't you dare finish that sentence.
The redhead tosses the pillow back on top of the bunk, not really trying to hit the taller woman. Whatever, Cupcake. You know, for someone who's so madly in love with me, you do hit me a lot.
Quiet. I don't love you, or even like you. You're just a bodyguard.
Caitlyn huffs, crossing her arms. Vi smirks, moving to lean against the bunk beds. That's not what you were saying in your sleep the other night. And if this is what bodyguards are like in a Cameron household, I wouldn't mind putting in an application. Caitlyn looks to be on the verge of exploding from embarrassment, or ready to lean over and hiss in Vi's face, like an angry cat who is irritated with their owner. The redhead laughs at her and returns to a small desk to write another letter to her family, updating them on how prison life is, and to tell them how much she has fallen for her cellmate. The Savika problem isn't getting any better. The damn woman is like a ninja. She keeps silently appearing with a sinister grin. Vi is at the point where she's willing to take the bait and start a fight. She's tired of being afraid for Caitlyn's safety. Do you feel it?
Yeah, something feels off. I think more people are watching us.
Caitlyn shivers in fear. She feels like her blood has run cold. Vi nods, glad she isn't seeing things. Savika's going to make her move, and when things pop off, I need you to run. I don't know how many people are in her pocket, but they're adamant about cutting your arm off. Caitlyn isn't ready to be in her first fight, let alone a fight that might cost both women their lives.
I assume we can't both run.
The redhead stands behind a taller woman and wraps her strong arms around Caitlyn's midsection. You've assumed correctly. Not only would I look like a little bitch, but Savika would find a way to get to you. The time has come for the guards to lead the inmates back to their cells. But Vi can see Savika and another woman are gaining ground. As a small brawler fears, she's going to take advantage of the chaos of the prisoners flooding the cell block to attack. Caitlyn notices this and grabs Vi's hand. She pulls her through the crowd towards their shared cell. Don't open the door for anyone. And Cupcake, I love you. Vi shoves Caitlyn backward in the cell and slides the door closed, just as Savika's fist makes contact with the wall beside Vi's head. The redhead turns to face her attacker and puts her rugged fist up, knowing this fight could be her last. The guards stay back and watch the two women go back and forth hitting each other with meaty punches. Savika dodges a wide swing from Vi and headbutts her. Fuck! But Vi counters by shoving her fist in Savika's ribs. Vi uses her small stature to duck under the punch and take her attacker to the ground with herself on top. She didn't account for how solid the new arm would be against her face. Savika punches her until she can't see out her left eye. Vi abandons her position on top and returns to standing to use her skill of getting inside of her opponent's range. The smaller fighter changes her stance to southpaw to throw the other woman off her game, but Savika quickly catches on to the trick and slams her foot down on Vi's boot as she takes a step back. Vi's bare foot comes out of her boot. She now regrets never listening to Caitlyn about tying her boots. Despite the minor setback, the redhead is holding her ground against her enemy. In fact, Savika is starting to look winded. The careful attack on her ribs is paying off. But now Vi is having to use her shoulder to dab away the blood flowing into her eyes. Vi goes for a double leg takedown as a last-ditch attempt to get Savika off guard. Thankfully, it works. The smaller woman wrestles her way to Savika's side. She hooks her thighs on either side of the woman's neck and uses all of her strength to choke her out. Savika's eyes roll to the back of her head as Vi takes that as a sign of victory. The smaller woman is hauled up by her cellmate, who looks to be on the verge of tears. Vi is led inside the cell to the sink to wash her face off, using Caitlyn to hold her steady the whole time. A guard follows them into the cell and slaps cuffs on Vi's swollen wrists. The redhead can only smile. "Don't worry, Cupcake. I'll be back in no time." The guard rolls her eyes at the mushy romance between the two and ushers Vi out of the cell and to the medical bay.